Okay, I see a lot of familiar faces, so
I won't be
I'm probably
there in
gonna
the
tell
beginning.
some
I have to go to a meeting.
things you already know. Please bear with me. This building was built in the 70s. It's about 30,000 square feet. It was originally a theater that held 1,200 people. When we did some ADA or American with Disability Act renovations several years ago, some of the seat count got lost because of wheelchair space, and we're down to somewhere in the 1240s. I don't think I've actually counted them, but it's like 1242, 1245. Depending, and then there's the orchestra lift that you can actually put a few more seats on. We did a report a couple years ago, probably some of you have seen that. We talked about the infrastructure issues in there. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because it seemed to come up at a council meeting where everybody gets wrapped around the axle with the $4 million number. The $4 million number that we prepared back then was to restore this thing to the level that you could actually do commercially viable acts that would fill the theater with modern lighting, modern sound, all of the things that it would take to bring it up to the standards of a currently commercially viable theater. Really there are varying deficiencies in the infrastructure I'll try to point out as we go around. In the end, how much money you'd have to put into it to open it back up, again, depends on what level you're going to open it back up at. If you're going to open it back up to do high school productions, for instance, that's probably a much lower number. If you're going to open it up to have Tony Bennett come here again, that's a whole different number. So, this is a lobby. It actually wraps. How many have not been in here before? Okay. It's a wraparound lobby around the main auditorium.
I'm just checking the expiration date on these. Stick around.
Yeah. There's a external ticket booth and some storage areas in here. And that's an ADA accessible, retrofitted stairwell that goes up to the upper level of the auditorium. It has a wheelchair lift. So we've done some ADA improvements, but as I'll show you, there's still more that has to be done currently under the according to the law. One of the deficiencies, yes?
Do you recall how many facilities there are in the women's restroom?
No, we can go in now, because one of the things I wanted to show you folks is one of the real deficiencies in my mind, if you're going to run it as a commercial theater, are the bathrooms, and particularly the women's bathrooms. Those of you who've been in them, they're kind of like a cave. There's not enough women's facilities. So there's some work that needs to be done there. So why don't we do that? Yes, John.
Are there bathrooms on the balcony?
No, there's a men's room over there and a ladies' room over there.
Do you require ADA access in the balcony or in?
Yes.
Okay.
Here you go. Take a quick look. It doesn't give you a warm and fuzzy feeling in there. It's pretty claustrophobic. What's it? Is this?
Drop down?
No, it's underneath. Have you? I don't know if it goes in these rooms.
Well, when you get the chance, you know.
3, 4, 5, 6. It'll be dark in here. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 1 handicapped. 1 handicapped.
That's not really enough for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay.
12 and 1 handicap. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I only get 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. There are 12, and one of them is a handicap.
flow out through there. Just put it on the outside.
I'm sure it's down. And you're
The box office area. Looks like there's another storage area back there. Interesting, it still have drinks in there, concession stand.
Yeah, I mean, put it in awesome.
What an amazing communicator. Sure. It's about 6 stalls. And then the urinals.
Oh, no lights?
Yeah, no, nice.
This camera's not that good with dark.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 1.
Plus 4 urinals.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regular, 1 handicapped, and 4 urinals.
You wouldn't count, you don't know math. You weren't a math major. You weren't a math major.
Utility room?
Yeah.
Okay, one of the issues that we talked about, I think most of you have heard it, is the roof here does leak. The roof is a kind of a complex roof here. There's a flat portion on top, which is just a built-up roof, for those of you who know roof construction at all. There's also a standing seam, like a mansard that comes down and surrounds all of that. And there's a couple of other folding standing seam metal portions of the roof. In the roof surveys that we've had done, it obviously leaks along here. You can see where it's running down the walls and affects the ceiling. But it's actually, you know, if you look at the roof inspection reports, there's corrosion on the standing seam that if you want to be in this place for another 20 or 30 years, you really ought to replace that. If you want to be in here for 5, you could probably patch it up. Yes.
What type of roof is up there now?
There's a standing seam flat roof on the top.
Metal?
Built up. I'm sorry, there's a built up flat roof on the top, and there's a standing seam mansard all the way around it.
So it's composition?
The top part is, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's got, you know, air handlers and vents and a lot of, it's a pretty complex roof up there. The last time we looked at it, replacing the flat built-up roof for a 20-year roof was going to be around $150,000, $175,000. If we ended up doing the standing seam metal, the whole job was going to cost between $600,000 and $700,000 to replace it all. So, again, with the roof, there's been a lot of discussion. How much should we spend? Should we spend any? It depends on how long you want to be here, in my mind. If you want to be here with a roof that's going to be here for 20 or 25 years, you really should spend the $600,000 or $700,000. That's what we would normally do.
Rob, explain that again. What's the difference between the two? One is just repairing, and the 100.
One is just chasing the leaks. I mean, what we've been doing, and this gentleman works for me, Matt Lear. He's the head of my facilities, and he chases the leaks. And you know, some years we'll spend $15,000, $20,000 chasing leaks. Some years we don't spend that much, but it's an ongoing thing. If you really want to be in here long term, we should fix the roof.
Is the moisture just from today's storm? No. Is that just from the moisture over here and here?
Well, it rained a couple weeks ago, right? I mean, there's still moisture in the roof.
Okay.
There was one overnight.
Yeah. a little last night, so.
But the 600,000 is reconfiguring the way the roof is that what you're saying?
No, it's essentially replacing it.
Taking it all off
Yeah.
and starting
It's a
over.
Band-Aid versus surgery.
Right. To use his analogy, if you're gonna do the surgery, if you're actually gonna replace the roof, you get into some things, there's asbestos abatement up there, there's new roofing codes as far as energy efficiency, so a lot of things start kicking in.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you got a question?
So you have been managing it the 2 years that it's been closed, chasing the leaks?
We have been doing the basics on it, yeah. I mean, as it rains and we see a leak, we've been patching, so.
So since it became dark in the budget for the roof repair, there has not been any actual roof repair?
No, there's not been any real roof repair.
Is there any green roof funding, government funding, federal government funding for green roofing and stuff like that? They could maybe reduce some of that price and make it more efficient?
It's possible, Scott. I mean, those kind of grants come and go, so I mean, depends on the timing and
It
we
is
would cer-
GDS funding.
and we would certainly look, I mean, as we get there, but, I mean, where we ended up is, we asked the council to award a design contract on it, and there was a lot of public discussion, pros and cons on that, and in the end, the council, did not award the contract, so. Yeah.
How much, I mean, on the prevailing wage thing, how much of an effect does that have?
On a roof,
State development agencies.
Yeah,
How does that affect that?
yeah, that's a good point, I'll cover that in a sec. About 15% is what
That's
we
it?
did, yeah. But her point was, you know, the original concept, when we were talking about $4 million of renovation, and then, you know, we didn't do that, so then we were talking about $600,000 or $700,000 for a roof repair. Those are gonna be redevelopment funds, okay? And if any of you have followed the paper and what's happened with cities, right around Christmas time, the Supreme Court upheld the state law that abolished redevelopment agencies.
But part of my question, I know that, but also, does that, although it takes away some money, does it in a way free you? In other words, are you still bound by prevailing wage? Were there restrictions on things like donated materials or prevailing wage that you could now get around if you wanted to?
No, the city's still bound by that. If the voters pass the charter in June, we won't be. But,
Okay, questions.
yeah.
Is this the only area that you have obvious symptoms of leaks?
This is where it's coming out, right, but it's actually coming in at various points of the roof.
And then when you did the $800,000 estimate for the roof repair, was that through a bidding process or was that just one person's estimate?
No, we compared a couple of different estimates. They were actually roofing contractors that did inspections and gave us estimates.
I see. Okay.
And what were those estimates for? What were they going to use?
Well, they were going to use a membrane to replace the flat roof up there, which is basically to meet the energy efficient codes. That's the easiest and least expensive way to get a 20-year roof now is to use a roofing membrane. The standing seam metal would have been replaced in kind. The old stuff would have been taken off that's corroded, and the new stuff put on.
Did anyone ever check into putting a metal roof up there? Like the banks have?
Well, what we're talking about, sir, yeah, when I talk about standing seam, that is a metal roof.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. As I said, the lobby works around. Right now, these function as emergency exit, but they actually face Main Street. There's been talk off and on over the years about whether this could be a main entrance to, because it faces Main Street.
Was that part of the 4 million too, or no?
Yeah, it was part of the permit.
Take food and all that.
You don't have to have that.
No. People love that coat here. They really do. But
Like I said, 1,140-ish on the seats. Where Scott is actually on the orchestra lift. That part of it, the first couple rows will lower down and actually be an orchestra pit if the configuration warrants. And Paul knows better than I do, but I mean, the acoustics in this hall are really fun.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
heard there's a water issue underneath, is that true?
Yeah, we'll go down there. What it is the orchestra lift actually operates, the guides are actually H-beam swords that go into a pit in the ground, and when it's down and sitting down there, it's below the groundwater table, so. The modern concept now that most of the theaters use, there's a company in Canada called Spiralift, and it's just a helical thing that's electrically driven and very quietly just raises everything up. And it's flush mounted on the floor.
Kind of like a screw.
Yeah,
So you can seal that back up.
yeah.
Do you recall where the section of the plaster fell in about 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, it was right here.
And do you have a flashlight?
Matt does, wherever he went.
It's gonna be hard to see around those lights.
That problem got resolved, they literally.
I know they patched that, I
We,
just
we,
It
curious
wasn't
where.
just patched.
I should have brought the pictures. We have pictures of this entire hall filled with scaffolding.
Yeah.
Because they the part of the acoustics, where up where you see the lights, they're actually curved plaster clouds that are up there to make the sound bounce. And what happened is they were all plastic coated, and due to the age and whatever, some of the surface plaster, about an inch thick, there were chunks of it falling off. So, you know, we had to close the theater for a few months back then, and we actually filled the hall with scaffolding, came in and had somebody replaster them all.
What caused that?
I think just age, to be honest with
Not water.
you. No, the clouds are separate from the roof. They're not part of the roof system. Okay. One of the issues, depending on whether you want to operate long-term or short-term, if you were going to operate it 20 years as a commercial venue, there's probably most of the lights in here that, and stage lighting that needs to be replaced. If you were going to just wanted to operate it for a short term, the problem is there's a lighting bar there that holds the stage lighting, and it was originally designed to be lowered down on a pulley system, and then the lights were adjusted down at the stage level and then raised back up. And I'm not, Paul, maybe you know the history of why it got dead hung. I don't, it was before my
Well,
time.
because the theory was good, but then when you actually tried to focus a light from down here to make it hit a spot on stage, it was literally impossible. So you literally had to climb up, and there's a makeshift catwalk up there to focus the lights. And
But if we were gonna open this even for a short term, my recommendation to the city council would be that we do something to, up there, either a catwalk or reinstall the pulley system, to safely allow people to do the lights. I mean, climbing out on there, I mean, it would meet no OSHA standard about people climbing out on that. And if somebody falls and gets hurt, it would be a tragedy.
What were they climbing on?
there's little wooden planks up there, and then there's cabling, and you hook yourself to the cabling, and then from there you reach out and adjust the lighting to focus it to the stage.
Has anybody checked into remote control?
On
Don't
adjusting
know,
lights?
Yes, we've had remote in here, but when they break, you've got to go up and
Fix it.
fix
Yeah.
them. So either way, you've got to have access to your equipment.
Probably the
An
right,
estimate for
so,
a catwalk, or
probably the right solution is a catwalk. You know, a properly designed catwalk that complies with OSHA so that somebody can safely get out there.
What's the
What
price
cost?
tag on that?
The catwalk, I don't know, we didn't estimate, but the, reinstalling all this stuff, all the original rigging and everything was gonna be more than $100,000, so. I would guess, you know, the catwalk may involve structurally enhancing the roof a little bit. I'm guessing it's probably in the same order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Rob, are you talking about just needed for theatrical production or for concerts too?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No, any stage lighting,
yeah,
yeah,
so, not just theatrical.
right. If you wanna light the stage for performance, you know, they're all on that light bar.
So they were talking about a digital lighting system. Is that part of the digital lighting system then?
Yeah, but like Paul says, even if you have remote control and digital and whatever you have, you know, you have to replace them sooner or later. You gotta get somebody up there,
Yeah.
and you gotta do it safely.
But replacing could mean that you could lower it down with the lowering system and replace it, because you don't have to actually align them when you're replacing them.
Yeah.
If you had the digital ones, then you could replace them without the catwalk, pull it back up, and then use the digital controls to calibrate where they would go on the stage, correct?
I think either solution, either a catwalk out there or reinstalling the rigging are probably comparable in price, right?
What the rigging itself was not used, they said, because it was difficult to aim them.
Yeah, but they've disconnected it and they've actually what they call dead hung. There's no pulley system up there. It's actually just hanging from the truss.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
Are we going to go up and see the sound thing up there?
We can. I was going to take you backstage first.
By the way, I just wanted to point out one other thing that's kind of interesting. I never got to use it. Joan, I don't know if you ever did. There's pipe holes here and another third of the way up, so that the theory again was when they built it for the college, because the college did not have huge crowds coming to see their shows except for the symphony. They had quite a few come to the symphony. But you could have a house of 300 people or about 100 and 200 people by putting curtains in here, curtain poles, and then I think those curtains are still in the back there somewhere, but
Maybe.
you could hang curtains all along here, all the way around, and then create that intimacy of here's a small house,
Yeah.
or here's a medium house, or here's the big house. But the problem was your lighting and sound booth were way in the back, and so if you put those curtains up, they couldn't see the stage. So the theory again kind of was interesting, but didn't always pan out.
But maybe if there was a gap in the middle where they could see, it
Yeah,
could still be
maybe it could be
partially
some
used.
simple things like that.
Have you ever seen it installed at all?
I never tried it.
No.
either.
Huh.
It was described in the initial program,
It was
the
it.
applause program.
Yeah, but I've always saw them here, and
I didn't know about that. I've been
Yeah.
wondering about that, and it's good to hear that.
Those screens could have been clear too, and they wouldn't have had that problem.
Well, you don't want them clear because you want
It's supposed to be three different sections.
I thought you were looking for that gum you left here a couple of
yeah. Well, that was a good piece.
Yeah. Well, we're learning something already.
You see them about.
Hey, Paul? Let's all stay together.
Oh, okay. And then there's another one right up here too. Sorry, Rob.
This, you can see the dimensions of the orchestra bed, actually, the wooden flooring.
How far down does that go?
These are the same plugs.
About 6 or 7 feet. Well, I was gonna take them down there. So.
Is there any sound under the stage? Speakers going that direction?
No, not that I know of.
No, because of
You know, a lot of times they take
What are these plugs
with
for?
subs.
Hey, Paul, do you know what these plugs are for on the stage?
probably for
They were originally for these plugs.
anchoring sets.
They look like the same kind.
These plugs. I don't know.
Probably put it for set anchoring and stuff.
Okay.
You've probably seen.
Oh, I know. Therefore, put a railing up so that when you're working on the stage, you don't have to put
Okay, there's a very large stage here as far as square footage of the stage area. One of the limitations is what they call a fly space. This thing goes up, I think, 32 or 33 feet, if my memory serves me correctly, that you can actually pull something up. Most large sets now require more head space than that, and so to try to get a professional play production in here with the full sets and all that, it probably wouldn't work.
Bob, I have a question. Did you find professional production?
I'm talking about the ones that are,
Like the traveling
Like a
road
national
shows?
yeah, traveling road shows. That's the road shows.
Like cats or whatever. Okay.
There's about a dozen flies.
I mean, there certainly are lesser productions.
Sound about right?
about 20, actually.
Less
Yeah.
famous ones, less expensive ones that
Well,
don't
there's a
have
whole
the
bank
huge
of that.
sets and stuff that would work. But there's a limit to the size of the sets that you can put in here.
20 some different pipes.
Miriam, you understand what a fly is?
They raise the money.
For backdrop.
This pulley system isn't in particularly bad shape because we actually had it restrung, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
About 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned the stage was bad, should be replaced.
I don't believe so. I think it's structurally very sound.
They were talking about the lift, I don't know anything about the
Yeah,
stage.
the lift we'll talk about.
You say the cables for the lift are actually underwater?
The swords that guide it. There's the H-beams, but you'll see.
Some movement.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be replaced with a mod. It's all pulley. Okay, some mechanical, electrical on the third floor. But a couple things. Well, this one, there really is no ADA access to the upstairs dressing room at all. That's one of the things that if we were going to truly open it up for a long-term commercial production facility, I'm pretty sure that it would drive us to having ADA access in this, which probably means having to strap an elevator on the outside somewhere.
Could you use one of green rooms rather than having a dressing room upstairs?
You could if the production was small, but there really aren't going to be dressing rooms.
He came in here. It was a long time getting showered.
Get the cap on, had his hair off. Took his hair off, put the cap on.
Then we had Engelbert Humphrey. He's a big,
He's
really fun.
The other thing I did want to point out,
Steve Covey was
this
coming
is
here
the
to
loading
speak
dock.
somewhere, and we brought him.
For the larger scale productions, where you want to back a semi in here, there's just not enough room to do that.
Do you commercially have seen for larger acts that you're talking about?
Tony Bennett, Neil Diamond. Well, I think, yeah,
Can you hold that open? Not enough room for a big semi.
Right.
This is where the loaded unless you came in after dark.
That's why, this is called load-in. Yeah, seriously, that's the term. You load it in.
Will their bus in here?
Well, you can bring in the semi, you can disconnect the truck and leave the trailer here, and then you can load in, and then you can come back in. Huh? Yeah, that's easy, that's easy. But you can put two
That's really
trucks
wide enough. How big do they need to be enough?
for a theater this size, probably one load-in truck's probably enough.
Yeah.
But it depends on who they are, what it is. Can you get two semis in here? It'd be pretty tight.
So what is the issue, Rob, about this?
You know, depending on the size of the show, if you're just doing a show that requires, you know, a box van to move in, this loading dock probably works fine. If you got a bigger act that has semis full of stuff, it probably doesn't.
Well, how big does it need to be big enough?
Depends on what you're putting in here.
A semi doesn't fit?
Semi hangs out.
So how far?
You can take the truck and cab off after the parking lot. In other words, you can back it in, you can back it in, once it's set, you can disconnect the truck and keep the trailer here and pull the truck away until you're ready to load it away.
Okay. So it's only missing if it was the size of the truck, the tractor.
The only time you get into multiple trucks, though, is if you've got a heavily amplified show. You know,
Yeah.
if it's a big rock concert, and you're not going to have too many of those here.
Hard to say.
I mean, is
Well-
it impossible for them to just pull one in, unload it, and go to parks, and
You
then
can
pull
do
the
that.
other
I
one
mean,
in? I mean,
I'm using Humphreys as a reference, but it's usually all in one
I was
truck.
reading the history documents.
Humphreys is the same size.
All restroom?
Well, in San Diego, we have a long time. 8 years or so.
I think he was taking people upstairs, is that where he's going? Or just those that wanted to?
Did Rob go upstairs?
I think he did, with Joan.
Hey, Rob. Okay, he came upstairs. Yeah, he's going up to the dressing rooms and whatnot up there. Here.
No, they're on that side.
Gotta leave it a couple, I gotta meet
Dressing rooms. Okay.
ample for.
I haven't had a survey done, but certainly we would if we were going to try to really open it up in earnest. Yes, it's done.
Shower.
I do.
You know where the shade is, but it's just troublesome. The first.
Men's dressing room.
We can go up one.
Pretty much identical, a little bit smaller.
Nice showing you here. All cosmetic changes, I know, downstairs 12 times.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I got it for the women.
Or now it's the state, right?
Up another flight.
I don't think it was that much. She was under the impression that it could, when it was built, that it could have another
Addition.
additions. But who knows, what regulations change.
And she can't give money to cities, right? Is that how it works?
Right, and I don't even know if, remember they used to be.
Electrical room. Lighting control system. Three of those. Rear half of the house. Lights. Supplies, accounts receivable, a desk.
Another green room type of a room. Mechanical room is where we just were. Back down.
Yeah, how many times you come up and down these stairs and the same college as well?
24 times actually, yeah, up and down. I pushed you out, doing it all, you know.
So you get your exercise.
AC overrides, it says. It's kind of hard to see in here. This light's low. Here's a microphone lectern. Equipment there for the production manager.
That's why, most people don't use those cables anymore.
Okay, Rob, can you wait out till I get the camera each time you do a presentation? Because I don't want to miss any of later.
I was just showing them here, Ray, that, these swords go down into a pit. That's what guides it up and down. And that's what causes the water. Yeah, this corrodes.
Watch yourself. Careful.
Okay,
Here's the baby grand.
Untuned in how many years?
Here's the concert grand, rather, not the baby.
oh, there it is.
Right here.
Okay.
Be careful where it is. Can we pull this off? Do you want to look at it?
Not much light in here.
No, there isn't. Can't see it.
At least it's here.
It's here. Not in the best place.
How
It's
do
damp
they-
down here.
How do they get it up?
All right, if you like, the last thing really is the control room up at the top, so we can walk up there.
So they have storage.
Well, the lift, they can lower the lift and just slide it into it. This is the lift.
I see.
It's
Hard to
damp.
see down there.
Now it's got seats when you lower it, then it makes the orchestra fit.
See, this is
There's,
the stage.
I see, there's a winch right there. Can you shine a light on the winch? Wait, let me see if I can get it. Yeah. It's very hard to see. This camera's not that good with low lights.
I thought
Okay.
pianos were supposed to be stored or even placed in a room where it's fairly dry.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad
Damp.
place for it.
This is what?
That's a really bad place for
It's
it.
awful.
But at least it's a secure spot. Can't get it out of there very easy.
No, you couldn't get it out in the very easily, that's true.
That's where that piano's been for 25 years that I know of.
Well, we tune it every time,
You
anyway.
actually lose the
Before every
seats.
performance we pay.
That's where the wheelchairs go.
Right, but what happened is, in order to get wheelchair access, there was actually another row of seats right here.
Yeah, I noticed that, but if it's But in order to get in here with the wheelchair, you had to do that.
Do we have everybody? No. Matt, could you ask them to come up, please?
That's, I've been in Paul's ear about getting like maybe the Conrad Brothers Performing Arts Center or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think we're gonna make much
He was a good friend with him, and he served on the.
But I think Rob's gonna touch on that.
easier to maintain.
Sweet. Watching one of those.
Yeah. You can put coatings on concrete to make them look really good.
Oh, yeah.
These days.
And they're, about trash.
Okay, that's the soundboard out there, analog soundboard. This is the control.
Yeah. This one, this one. Along with the motor and,
There's a lot of dust in there.
very easy.
I don't know if there's any more with dust.
Obsession 2. Is that the light control panel?
Yeah.
How long would you say to the city house?
I'll leave it there.
I think this was a new sound system than the original one.
In 94, yeah.
Well,
95, is it 95?
maybe then, yeah.
Yeah, the sound system is in the house, it's right here.
Okay.
It's a Yamaha.
And they keep saying 1,142 seats, but you had to take out seats.
No, that's the number.
That in there for handicaps.
That's the number that we.
It got lowered a little bit. But it's
From
around.
1,142, it must only be about.
No, it was 1,200 first.
1,200 lowered to 1142.
You counted up on the line.
It's over here.
It's just, I can't even find the light. That's weird. Nothing that's gonna work. It's just storage down here. This thing is.
Here, trying to shine the light around. Okay, there's some chairs, there are extra chairs and stuff. Desks piled up. Alright.
What is this room?
It's just used for storage right now. It's just extra space. Could be used for almost anything. And there's a shelf and some storage.
That's it. Okay.
Okay, is this access to the roof?
No,
Where does that
it's
go?
access to a mechanical room.
Mechanical room.
Was that Rob?
I said, why don't we head out the lobby and I'll try and take questions.
Okay.
Bill's Laundry. So that goes to another
No,
mechanical
it's
room?
all mechanical up there. There's the fans and a lot of the air handlers.
Okay, and then there's additional access to the roof through there?
Negative.
None. You have to go from the outside?
You have to go up that stairwell over here and then out to the roof.
Okay. All right, I gotta go see this here. Sorry. I was told this is not used by the acts that come in?
No, I don't know, man. I just.
Yeah. They said it wasn't here, so that's why I'm confused.
I think it's ever moved.
Yeah. What we have here is
have no idea.
We have various decks, looks like cassettes, CDs, and a whole bunch of graphic equalizer from Clark Technic. Down here we have Yamaha digital reverberator. Okay.
You ready to go? Rob wants us all in the lobby.
Okay, is there access across up in there, the top?
You know what? You want to talk to Rob about that one?
You don't know, okay.
He's got, I know all about it, but. he's my
So
boss.
you're not gonna answer the question, okay.
I just know that he's gonna touch on it if you give him, just ask him to tell you all about it.
Okay, well, he's getting ahead of me here.
I mean, the state budget, I think has to be, in my mind, the stage lighting has to be done, no matter what you're gonna do. 'Cause I mean, I really, it's not a good idea to have people calling out on anything the way it is.
He's talking about it right now.
The other is if you're gonna operate it for any period of time, we need to do some roof repairs. And depending on how long you want it, I mean, if we want to preserve this thing and keep it essentially going for the next 30, 40, 50 years, we need to spend a fair amount of money on the roof, like we said. It's in the order of like 600 or 700,000. If you wanna just operate it for a few years and patch it up as we go, that's certainly a much cheaper alternative.
If you're doing the roof anyway, is it possible to, to raise the height on the fly, or is that just impossible?
It gets expensive, just structurally, you gotta build it up.
About how much?
I think the total roof height now is in the 50 or 55-foot range, and what was it, about 80, the full fly space, the top of it is?
You need 60 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 60 is what the problem is, the foundation might not be.
May not hold something.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. You just can't take it off, add more bricks, and put a new roof on.
Like the Joan Kroc Center gets, they got a 600, whatever it is, seat theater, and they're getting all the little local, dance studio stuff. I mean, do you have to do, what do you have to, the roof to get just them to use it? Or?
Right, but the other part we haven't talked about, and it is in the report, is I added it up in the beginning of the report, and over the 15 years or so that the city had been involved in it at that point in time, the city was actually paying something on the order of between $400,000 and $500,000 a year in operating costs on the thing.
How much of that's utility bill?
It's about $5,000 a month.
In other words, if suppose you were to get a grant or something to stick solar on the roof and make it produce its own power, is it possible to significantly lower that operating cost?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this roof will handle this a little bit.
Plus that's during the day, so it doesn't help you at night unless you got a battery pack. And then
Right, you need to rectify that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but it's all, it all costs money.
It was 5,000 even if the theater was closed.
Okay, so
because they need, it's called emergency.
Emergency lighting.
Yeah,
And other functions. We have to keep the stair, the lift operating.
Right, so you gotta have the power turned on, which creates.
It's $5,000 today.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, every single month.
Even if it's closed, you're still spending $5,000.
Right, and then.
Actually,
Is that actually the expenditure of the power, or is that just some figure in a spreadsheet somewhere?
Matt pays the bills, so.
How do you figure that?
Actually, I just lowered the bill on this facility by 73% by turning off absolutely everything. This is the first time everything's been turned on in quite a while. But we've reduced the bill down to about $1,400 right now.
Awesome.
And I just finished that report. SDG&E just gave it to me, so it was our first bill of the 73% reduction.
1,400 with a 73% reduction?
That is, yes.
With every light turned on.
If you go back on the report, you get an idea of what the money was spent on, and you can kind of look at and tell what we still have to spend money on. I mean, there's a certain minimum electrical. I mean, we still have a water service hook up at a minimum charge, and, you know, we have insurance on the building, you know, there's a list of things you can
So
see
there's
there.
been quite a bit of expenditure even with it closed.
Yeah, I think, don't quote me on this, but I just saw the budget the other day that where, for this year where it's been closed, and I think it's on the order of like $40,000 or $50,000 that we're spending.
And for the year.
Yeah, but don't quote me on that, because,
Okay, well, it's a rough
Oh,
figure.
fuzzy.
No, we're not gonna light your hair on fire unless we want to.
no.
No, go ahead. Mark.
It would be helpful to have a copy of the various rooms layout from the construction plans. Would that be available, a copy of that?
Yeah, it's a public document, I might have to charge you for the copy of it. But
Well, not the whole 100 and some pages, but just,
you just want a floor plan?
pardon?
You want a floor plan?
Yeah. it makes
Yeah,
sense.
floor plans.
Yeah. Sure, we can do that. Why don't you give me a card?
Okay, so the, access to the roof, where was that again?
It's up on the top level by the electrical room.
Okay. And, do you think the bids and so forth are still applicable, even though they were done a while back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the bidding climate's still pretty intense, so we might actually get it cheaper than that now. But, I mean, that was the engineer's estimate at the time, so.
When you were saying $25,000 about to get it back online, what were you thinking about there?
I was actually thinking about if there was some minimalist approach we could do to get the stage lighting safe so that somebody could actually adjust it and use the stage lighting. I think it could actually be more than that.
So that did not include any leak repair costs?
No, it did not.
And-
I mean, we've been chasing those as they leak, but I mean, we're not doing any systematic approach to it. What we're doing is repairing the leaks as we see them and find them. So what really needs to happen, I mean, we got the roofing reports from professional roofers that say that, you know, it needs to be replaced. And if you want it to last 20 years, here's the standard that you
But
need to replace.
the most current estimates date from the 10-11 fiscal year?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Art, I don't think they've changed much because the construction market has been a little flat since then, so.
But why does the roof leak after all these years? You know, is it corroding or
Yeah,
is it just a poor design?
the metal roof is corroding, the 5-ply built-up roof, I think the sun and UV are finally getting to it after 30 years.
To answer your question, on the hot days it expands and the cool nights it contracts. This works and works. I've seen nails come out of a roof just from the heat and the cold. Pushing this, so it will just, by the natural aging process, it will crack wherever seams are. And that's what he's chasing all around, trying to patch those.
And what happens on a flat roof, if anybody's ever done any maintenance on a flat roof, it'll go in where the crack is and it'll travel along between the plies and come out somewhere else. It's a pretty healthy job of chasing.
They're not easy to find.
Yeah. Are there any more questions?
Do you think that there's any dry rot up there too?
If we were gonna do the roof job, we would replace the insulation and stuff, but I'm sure some of that's rotting because the moisture's gotten in underneath there.
The sound engineer report that you had, can we get a copy of that?
Sure. Actually, if you ask through the city clerk's office, she'll be happy to give you one. Yeah.
Yeah, somehow I heard in one of the meetings that the sound board, the mixing board, wasn't even there.
No, it was there, it's just analog, not the digital
And so
state-of-the-art stuff that they do now.
the acts, when they come in, they don't use that one?
Most of the modern acts, I'm told, again, that's not my area of expertise, but the consultant we had said that if you wanted most of the modern acts, the bigger acts, they want digital sound.
And they want to use one that's there, not bring their own?
Right.
Okay. All right, that's different than what I had heard.
But again, Ray, that's not my area of expertise. so-
Sure. All right. Okay.
Okay. Hopefully I've answered most of your questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Okay. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good tour.
Ray, you did have questions about, he was asking me about the catwalk and everything else up there.
Yeah, you couldn't really tell
didn't
what's
wanna
up
get into
there, but maybe there's a way to get some construction plans or something to see how it works. 'Cause it's very hard to see the lights or not. And a little tiny flashlight, I couldn't really see what was there. And to go up on the roof, I think it'd be nice to go up on the roof and actually inspect that and see exactly what's going on versus the reports that we've been getting.
Matt, we got a paper copy, extra paper copy of the plans, right? More than one?
Yeah,
Why don't we
I can burn some copies.
No, why don't we do this? I
Scan
don't know
'em.
if these guys want to pay for them, is why don't we put a set of plans up with Jose at the counter on the 4th floor? And if these folks want to go up to the 4th floor, they can actually look through the construction drawings.
We can do that.
Okay.
Okay. So getting access to the roof, and actually I'd like to video record the condition of the roof. Is that going to be feasible?
Actually, probably the best thing to do, Ray, is I do have a report from 2 or 3 years ago. I'll be happy to share a copy of that with you. I don't want to let people on the roof. It's a safety issue for having people up there that aren't normally used to being on the roofs.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do, per Rob's direction, is.
But I mean, it's a
full set
flat
of plans
roof.
up on the
It's
fourth
not
floor counter.
something you can fall off of too easy, right?
Yeah, you can fall off the edge of it.
I thought, isn't there an edge that
No,
goes up
There
further?
is an edge that comes up, but you can, you
Oh,
know,
We don't
okay.
have that, right?
How high is the edge?
different places, different heights, but thank
Okay,
you.
not sure.
Yeah,
All
no
right.
problem.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no problem.
This is pretty beat up here, isn't it? So was this new landscaping part of the safety center budget?
No, this part of it was done with the redevelopment agency. It was one of the last projects we did before they dissolved it.
So it wasn't part of the safety center?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the same contractor did it, but the money was redevelopment money, as opposed to Propo, which built the public safety center.
Just finished up.
Okay. How much was spent on this landscaping?
Around 2.
2 million?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
That also includes everything.
Up in the office?
Okay. It's a new performance venue right here. Hi. Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Okay. Is this for the pond mainly?
Yep.
The type of roof it has around the edge is this metal, raised seam metal roof. Should be pretty secure. They have on the edge, they have goop put in there. Okay, this is the east door, which you can normally exit from after a performance. Okay, this is the loading dock. Just gonna pace it off here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16 yards. About 48 feet. Okay, here's the electrical equipment. Door half ajar. Gas. Meter. Air conditioning equipment. Hard to say how well that's going to work. This now is a walkway that leads up to this door. That's just a facility door. These doors can now be used. These doors are now on the west side of the building. We have a nice walkway out to Main Street. It's very pleasant when we get into the theater. And of course, you could set up a box office right here. Just a temporary box office, and allow people to enter this way. You can establish a much more important guiding entrance there. Whereas this way, they have it blocked off again by the duck. The reason for the duck pond is that there is a subterranean stream that flows through here. They can't build it. Looking up from that door, this is the area of the roof that has the most leaking on the top of it up there, above that level. Might be possible to get a camera on a very long pole and look up there. Project for another day. Can't get up there ourselves to see what's going on and how bad it really is. Kind of hard to believe that they just can't secure that edge a little bit better and get that leaking to stop.